What's up, everyone? Back here with another comic book review. Got ENIAC issue 2. I'm excited to go over this one with you. Really solid comic. Right off the bat, this is a recommend. Don't know if you can pick this up because this is from the Bad Idea publisher. Bad Idea is doing a thing where you gotta buy the whole thing as a set. This is a 4-issue series. It's their flagship series, this ENIAC. I got issue 1 last month. Now is issue 2, along with, I believe, Tankers, their second title. Just started with issue 1 at the same time. So you gotta, if you're into this, you gotta buy the whole thing. You gotta buy all 4 issues, but it's really worth it. There's the back cover. It's $3.99. That's as much as a big 2 book. That's a $4 book, and it's got 24 story pages plus an 8-story backup. So well worth it. That's more bang for your buck than a Marvel or DC book. So super worth it. I'm really into this story. Gonna get right into this. I am not a fan of this cover, though. That is a dumb cover. Believe Luis LaRosa. Yeah, there's his little name right there. Luis LaRosa did a great issue 1 cover. Not a fan of this cover. I get that the 2 lead characters, these 2 government agents, Olivia Fletcher and Allison Falk, are standing here and looking back. It's a perspective shot from a camera, that being ENIAC's perspective. And but there's a reason why no one uses that fish eye filter when they're trying to make an Instagram post. It looks kind of dumb. I see what he's doing. He did it well. It just looks dumb. And it's just kind of it's a weird perspective. It's a really weird shot. And it's just, you see this big image of a character, pretty much just their face right here, and then the second character right there. I don't know what the focal point is. I almost thought I have to be focusing on this burning building in the background, but cover is definitely not the best part in this review, which is a good thing. Paper's good. You can tell in this video that the characters and the title are glossy, and everything else has this matte finish. So it's even the back cover feels really firm, very expensive paper. So really good feel, very stiff. Unlike Marvel, who uses very cheap paper for their covers, where you can't even hold the friggin' thing without ink rubbing off or the oils in your fingers making creases in the book. So I do appreciate the expensive paper they use for the covers. Not so much a fan of the cover art itself. But gonna jump right into the story. It is a recommend. If you're into this kind of stuff. I read comics for superheroes. I love Marvel and DC. I love superhero stories. So it takes a lot for me to get into an indie book with no superheroes or superheroics in it. Part of me does think this story would be better if a superhero was in it. That's not the kind of story Matt Kindt wanted to tell. I totally respect that because Matt Kindt is a boss at what he does. He is the indie comic man to me. I love basically everything I've read from him when he was writing all sorts of stuff for Valiant. And so getting right into this, Olivia and Allison are infiltrating this facility in Russia, or it's a prison in Russia. And right here, I was a little confused at this part right here where Allison is using these binoculars, these tech binoculars. Olivia gets mad and takes them out of her hand and crushes them. She says, ENIAC dropped our plane out of the sky. This isn't a game. Then I had to realize this is a flashback of when Olivia was a little girl using a speak and spell toy, I think. It says, 100%, you are a fast learner. Oh, thank you. And so I believe she takes this threat more seriously. I think she's getting maybe even overly paranoid, but she probably thought back to this moment, wondering how many life events have been manipulated by this evil supercomputer. So that was very interesting to me. Later on, when we see more talk bubbles from ENIAC, it's in this same way too. When I realized that made it 10 times creepier. I was like, oh my gosh. So it doesn't get confirmed. It's kind of up for interpretation, and I love that. I love that he put that out there. So anyway, they make a comment about how they're going in analog, so they have no tech on them. I really like that. I think it's cool. And so they travel in through the water main. They get up there. This was kind of weird though, that this very slender, like 100-pound girl snapped this big old dude's neck. But I guess if she put all her force into it, maybe she could do it. But you see that this guy's a big guy with this huge neck, and you see how slim her arms are. So realistically speaking, since that's what we're going, since this is not a superhero story, she has no superpowers, she doesn't have enhanced strength, that'd be pretty difficult to just break this guy's neck. But I guess if his back was turned and she applied as much force as she could, maybe she could do it. But then they take out these guards, go through that door, start shooting up the place, bang, 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 just mowing through all these guys. I guess these two chicks are like a couple of female John Wicks or something, because it's just shooting them up and not getting tagged. And when they acquire the asset, the person they're trying to get to, they don't even have a scratch on it. So that kind of bothered me too. I wish they showed up there maybe with some cuts, bruises, maybe some bullet marks in their Kevlar. You don't have to show me that they're absolutely invincible. Indiana Jones spends half of his movies getting punched in the face. So it'd be a little more like even John Wick, who has like a broken nose the whole movie. But anyway, so this guy, Yuri Andronikov, is apparently developed a way to defeat ENIAC. He's been in a Russian prison the whole time. He grabs his poncho here and gets on the move. And he goes over his origin. They find refuge in this little cabin where they're talking. They're using a lantern. They're not using any tech. Jumps back into 1959 in Russia. So they traded 7 spies to acquire the guy who made ENIAC. What's his name? Ned something. Let's see. Ned Clement. Yeah. So the guy who made ENIAC, he's kind of ENIAC's father. And I think Moscow, the government, they're trying to figure out a way to kill ENIAC, and Yuri views Ned as kind of his intellectual equal, so they're both geniuses. Pretty much a long flashback story of going into this town where ENIAC manipulated events to blow up a reactor of some kind and create fallout so no humans can get to it. Really, really good move. This town is kind of uninhabitable now, but they come in with these radiation suits, fight their way in. There's some ghost story about the women and disappearing in this town. Right here, I started spotting moments where maybe there's some questionable rendering in this issue. Because I really love shots like this where I can tell everything is drawn. Doug Braithwaite is a fantastic artist, super great artist. And, artists don't typically like to draw buildings, but that's all this shot was, so he drew all of that. Then over here, draws these characters, and then I can tell these shelves, these cabinets, all that's rendered. And from a perspective shot, these characters may be sized a little weird, going down the hallway. So maybe doesn't look the best. Then basically, the women that supposedly disappeared are protecting ENIAC. They're wearing these earpieces where ENIAC just kind of feeds them misinformation and manipulates them into being his its human subservience. And Yuri is narrating this whole flashback story, makes this comment saying they were brainwashed. They were a brainwashed collective content in their prison. ENIAC was efficient, calculating, just in some strange way, the perfect embodiment of the communist ideal. Common ownership and an absence of social class and money. I was like, yep, that's communism. So I thought that was interesting, quick development from Yuri's perspective of this is communism achieved. This is what it looks like. So go America. Anyway, so the women lead the two guys, Ned and Yuri, to where ENIAC is. Super creepy room, all these cables. Once again, getting back into the rendering. All this stuff is digitally placed here, which is why these two stick out kind of like a sore thumb to me. To the eye, it's kind of like the uncanny valley, where you can tell in a film you're watching something, it doesn't look right, so it just kind of looked a little weird. And anyway, he's saying that ENIAC had evolved since Ned's initial build. It could see everything, it could hear everything, and then they encounter it. It's kind of this mass of all these cables sucking up all this power, information, whatever. This looks really cool, even though like all the cables are coming down from it, and once again, questionable rendering here of all of them just kind of laying on the ground. But I like the image. Even, you know, the comic creators, the editors probably liked it so much that now they put in the text here, ENIAC. And so that's kind of the supercomputer in 1958 in this bunker, and it says hello to Ned. Ned starts getting weird on it, starts talking to it like a son. Ned is saying pretty much that ENIAC is saying that it predicted this day would come, so it had a contingency plan, manipulated events basically to bring bombs to the Kremlin and the White House, stopped the timer at 1 on both of them, just as a display of power, that it could at pretty much at any moment kill their leaders, and so they have to abort the mission. They could not upload whatever virus they had to try and kill ENIAC, and even Yuri says right here, you could have killed it, now you've doomed us both, and Ned says we never had a chance. And so Yuri went to prison for this. Ned, for some reason, I think it says Ned was court-martialed, but they didn't really have anything on him. Everyone wanted Ned dead, but there was no way to do it legally. So it just shows him he cleaned himself up, and Yuri is pondering, saying that he always wondered what happened to him. ENIAC was always playing chess in 5 dimensions. I don't think he would harm Ned, but did he know what was going to happen? Right here, really creepy moment where Ned is kind of living his life in who knows where, receives a letter from ENIAC, but it's in code 3414C. When you take it back a little, it spells ENIAC in a weird way. The letter says, if child is father to the man, then I must consider you both father and friend. You will be missed, but you will forever be remembered. And then Ned is assassinated. He's shot. You don't know who. Maybe ENIAC killed him. Maybe he didn't. Maybe other people that just were seeking revenge on Ned creating something so powerful and evil. Who knows? So I kind of like that up for interpretation, a very dark conclusion to Ned's story. Then we're coming back to present day. Got this helicopter shot. It locates them. We got this shot. I had to make sense of this too. Shoots rockets, blows up the cabin they were in, but they escaped. And then the pilot has this line saying, Mayday, Mayday, controls unresponsive. And I'm like, oh, so ENIAC is controlling the helicopter as well. So even the pilots in here can't control, they can't override the control from ENIAC. So they managed to steal a car very quickly and escape, barely, blew up the car and went off the bridge and landed in the lake. So then Allison had to go and rescue them both. She was the only one who remained conscious since she's a professional and can't let her emotional ties get in the way. She, of course, saves Yuri first, the asset, and then goes back for Olivia. Got this weird page here I didn't really understand. This weird family living in a van in the desert, and this hippy-dippy woman puts this chip on her tongue. And I think it's kind of like a dropping acid type metaphor, but I suppose that's ENIAC, and she's getting all weird and stuff, and the son's just kind of ignoring her, listening to his cassette, possibly maybe even being influenced by ENIAC, through song. Interesting concept. I'm sure we'll find out more about them in the next issue. But anyway, so Yuri is dying. Is bleeding right there, so it's like, quick, tell us, how do we kill it? What's the secret that you developed to defeat ENIAC? And he has this really cool thing that he reveals, that it is in the weaving of his poncho. He kind of reflects here that his life's work was to kill something that's not alive. I thought that was really interesting. But then he admits that the weaving, the thread of his poncho, it's some kind of core rope they used for the Apollo missions, and it's got a virus inside, so they need to feed it into ENIAC to kill it. And Olivia asks, like, how do we, okay, that's great, how do we do that? How do we feed that into ENIAC? And he pretty much tells them to go find let's see, who's this name that he drops? Find Jules Rosa in Sweden. She kind of makes this face. And then Yuri dies. And Olivia reveals that Jules Rosa in Sweden is her mother. And so they're kind of like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? And she says, how do we kill something that knows what we're going to do before we do? So, increase of paranoia. The plot thickens. What is ENIAC doing? So all this is really good stuff. The countdown is still going to whatever ENIAC is going to do. They believe nuking the world. Craziness. The stakes are getting higher. And then you got this 8-page black and white story by Matt Kindt, which I won't go over. It was weird and entertaining, like same as the backup story in issue 1, kind of like a episode of Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits or something. But anyway, so pretty much it was a solid issue. I'm feeling very invested into the story. We're halfway through now, and it's chugging right along. I want a big climax, and I just hope that Matt Kindt doesn't get too heady, too big brain for me, for us simpletons. And I just want a strong build-up and satisfying climax in the third act. And ENIAC continuously being clever, as they have well established how lethal, cunning, and serious it is, and clever ways of Olivia and Allison surviving and taking the fight to ENIAC. So that is going to be really cool. I would like to get my hands on Tankers, but I even thought, like, I wondered if Bad Idea is doing a shared universe, so Tankers may even take place in the same continuity as ENIAC, but probably not. Those writers probably just want to make their own great stories, and that's that. But anyway, good solid issue. If you like this sort of stuff, highly recommend, but you're going to have to really commit and buy the whole series, which isn't a bad thing. I love it when publishers decide to take a risk and do something cool like this. So go out, buy this book. You know, can't have manga being the only thing selling. So yeah, go support your local comic shop. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, even comment. All my friends, all you normies who don't read comics, tell me what you think of this book. Tell me what books you want me to read, or just tell me if you think I'm wrong. I really want to hear your opinions, and thanks for watching. Bye.